right. As always, I'm Bob of TalesbyBob.
I'm the Acid Podcast, Derek.
And I'm author Ben Meeks.
What? And in case you missed our little bonus episode that dropped at some point, uh, uh, Derek has a camera. What? Um, so now you can see our beard dentals,
You can see my
our
There you
beard
go.
exasperated
credentials.
sighs and look of
Yeah,
just
we could all
frustration and
we
sadness.
could always hear them. We could always feel them in the pregnant silences. But now, now we know. Now we can
Yeah,
see it,
it's
and
it's just different, It just hits different.
it does. And seeing is half the battle. All right, this is our short read episode. If you have not yet, what are you waiting on? Go get a copy of the Alchemy of Sorrow. In the show notes, there's a link to the audiobook. It's also available ebook and in print. So, however you ingest books, you can ingest this one that way. Um, this is the third story from the anthology. We've done stories 1 and 2 so far. And it is A Matter of Trust by Angela Boord. May have said that wrong, but that would just be par for the course for me. So, uh, if you haven't, go get you a copy, give it a read. And here in a minute, we will dive into discussing it. But first, as always, we have the news. And
Here we go.
uh, we're doing all beard news this episode.
Okay, I
So
ain't mad at it.
I've got two, and one of them may lead to something. We'll see. The first one is uh, beloved Columbia DJ. And this is Columbia, South Carolina.
Hmm.
From News 19. Beloved Columbia DJ Weird Beard found homeless after 18th month disappearance. So
Do you have like some kind of brain trauma? Forget who he was.
we don't know. It's a mystery. So here we go. James Allen Reams, known to his fans as Weird Beard, which I saw a picture. His beard was not that weird in the picture. It was
Fairly
pretty
standard.
pretty standard beard. Um,
Yeah, you
uh,
talking like beard, shave close beard. What are we talking about
uh,
here?
about like about like yours, Derek, I guess, but gray.
Okay, so just a yeah,
Yeah,
well,
A beard.
yeah. It
yeah.
was just a
Yeah.
beard. Nothing wild. No crazy length. Now that who's to say? At the time where he got this moniker, maybe he
It could have
was.
been.
Yeah, maybe it was some epically weird beard at the time. I don't know. But yeah, so he was found last Thursday after being missing for roughly 18 months. Known as a beloved radio host for Fox 102.3, he had been a primary force in the Columbia radio scene since the 1980s. So, as long as me and Derek have been alive, basically. Um, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be who I am today without Weird Beard, said Lisa Marie Greer. Greer is part of a group called Beard's Merry Bandits, a circle of friends advocating for Ream's comeback. Which, I don't know that our fans have come up with a name for themselves. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Fail.
so I'm not saying y'all should be Beard's Merry Bandits because that's already taken. But, if y'all,
Pirates are better.
yeah, if y'all wanted to come up with a nickname, we'd pass it around. But anyway, so apparently he fell into a challenging period last March when he was seeking shelter at friends' places after losing his home and phone, and he wasn't heard from again until a week ago when he was found homeless on the streets of Columbia. Um, Following this discovery, they talked a little bit about how they find him. Um, Greer immediately stepped in to help Reams get the support he needed. She created a GoFundMe campaign with a goal of raising $20,000 for him. However, there are still unanswered questions about where Reams was during those 18 months. We're not sure, and here's an exact quote: there are fuzzy issues about timing and what actually happened both on his part and what we've been able to piece together. So, um, yeah, Feel good story. Radio DJ, homeless. They're trying to get him a home. Weird beard. Um, it's kind of beard news, you know, helping a bearded brother.
I mean, the real question is how. Actually, there's a lot of questions here, Bob. So I don't even know. First of all, beard, right? Like that was my first question was like, okay, if your name's Weird Beard or whatever, like,
How did you get the name?
yeah, I feel like I'm
You feel
you're killing
like
me here.
uh, you almost wish that the guy tracking down the news articles maybe did a little bit more research around them.
Look,
Is that what we're
look.
saying here?
I
Because
I
that's fair.
I I think we all know I would be the last one to criticize you, Bob,
Oh,
or to attack you in any way.
um, tangentially related. I met a guy called Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, I think, who was also like a DJ slash like sports announcer guy in the Chattanooga area. He had a really good beard. He was kind of an older gentleman, like weird beard, um,
Mhm.
and he had a killer beard. But he was not big bad bearded voodoo daddy. It was just big bad voodoo daddy. So
That's disappointing.
yeah, missed
Well,
opportunity
could
there.
have been would have been way more
So
impressive with the beard.
Yeah.
I've I've done a little looking, and Weird Beard has gone through a few different styles over
Oh.
Oh,
his lifetime.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
When he was younger, the most popular seemed to be beard, no mustache.
Oh,
hmm
going
Right.
rocking the full Amish.
Yep. Yep. And then there was one, very long, about this long, looks like one of those very square.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of that is. I mean, he's done a few different things. He may have got the name just because he changed it up,
could
Hmm.
have just been he was a weird dude that had a beard.
or it could be that too.
Yeah. I
But
once.
yeah, I think I see the picture that you were looking at, about his current beard, which is pretty standard,
Yeah.
but it did used to be more weird in the past.
Okay. I once, for a few month period, rocked the Amish beard. No, just beard, no mustache. Um, but it was solely because I had a real bad lingering allergy attack, and I got tired of wiping snot out of my mustache. So I was like, "To hell
Mhm.
with this," and just shaved it off. Made it easier to wipe my nose. So
Yeah,
I once had mutton chops for about
I was,
a week.
God,
yeah, I was about to say I worked with a guy who had like, I mean, thick mutton chops. You
yeah,
know what I
no.
mean? It was glorious.
Derek has a face sculpted by God to hold some fat chops. I've seen him.
So
We talked him in. It took us years to talk him into it, and he did it for one glorious summer.
they
And
wouldn't
Yeah,
shut up about it, and I let my beard get nice and long, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get rid of all of it because it's itchy and it's hot, and I haven't been without a beard in a long time. And I was like, I'm gonna take it away in stages. So I took it away in stages until all I had were the chops. And I was like, I'll keep it this way for a little while, just so that y'all
right.
will shut up.
whatever,
Yeah,
whenever you think, like, a lot of folks are like, man, the world just hasn't been the same since 2012 or whatever.
it was
Whatever,
2014.
yeah, whatever year you associate with that, just know that it was definitely the summer that Derek uh,
Right.
got rid of his fat chops. So
Hmm.
that's where reality took a horrid turn.
What I'm hearing is if Derek brought back the chops, then things might settle out, get a
World
lot better.
world peace, world peace.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, the war in
we're not
Ukraine,
ready for that.
war in
All's
Ukraine
in
would
your
be
court,
over.
Derek.
Yeah, would be
Like, what are you
I'll,
gonna
over.
do?
I'll take that into consideration. I'll uh,
Okay.
Well,
I'll take it under advisement.
okay.
Think of the children.
Well, damn it!
Yeah, yeah. Mm. All right. My next bit of beard news, um, from Menasha. Menasha. We're gonna say Menasha. NBC 26. The founder of the Funny Beard fundraiser shared the brains behind the beards. Adam, fuck me. Everyone just needs to be Smith.
Uh,
Okay. Adam Schwarber is a
okay, hold
local.
on, Bob. Just say it with just absolute confidence. No one will know.
Yeah.
I won't know. That is usually yeah, that's the name. That's
Yeah. It's Adam Schwarber.
yeah, sure.
You
Yeah.
alternatively, you could say Adam, last name omitted,
Mm, yeah.
and then continue, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I nailed it though, so no need. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
pretty sure that's
absolutely.
exactly
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
from your pronunciation,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that has to be what it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
So Adam Schwarber is a local businessman by day, a bearded Viking by night.
Oh.
It grabs a lot of
Forget.
attention from people, said Adam Schwarber. See, they put his last name in there a second time. They're just fucking with me at this point. Okay.
Right?
They didn't need to put it in a second time. All right. Said Adam Schwarber, the Funny Beard fundraiser founder. I was always kind of known for coming in put together because I came in from the sales side. This was a way to show a little bit of a funnier side of me. Why a beard? That is actually something that was my wife's idea. She said, "You know what would be funny? If you did it in a funny shape and tried to raise money for someone in the community," said Schwarber. Said Adam.
There you
Uh,
go.
this year, Adam is trying to raise $1,400 for Pillars, an Appleton based organization that helps fight homelessness. And so basically, he just every year he sets out to raise money and does increasingly more elaborate like photo shoots with um, over the top beard stuff. So this year is super Viking themed. So, um,
How
I
does one
like it.
become a super Viking?
well, no, I just mean like it very Viking, not super Viking,
No,
A
no,
very
no.
Viking
little,
themed.
little
Super
less
Viking. It,
interested.
it has to be in the
Yeah.
beard, the power of the beard.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So, oh, okay,
Right.
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pouring more of that B&B.
Yeah, I was about to do the same thing.
Yeah, no. Um,
For everyone's sake, I will not, because yeah, this is going to hit me in just a second anyway.
Ben is by far the most in shape of us, so he has a little bit less bulk to absorb the,
Yeah.
the liquor. Um,
I think it's more that my body is trying to determine what this foreign substance is and what to do with it,
Poison.
which will result in like, let's just throw it in the bloodstream. You know,
But my body's like, oh, it's that thing. Yeah, okay, I know what this is.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is Tuesday. All right.
yeah. Um, but anyway, so yeah, there's if you want to go look it up, there's pictures of him running around, bearded Viking, badass looking dude. Um, but it got me thinking: should we
No.
do a fundraiser? A
we
bearded
could.
a bearded fundraiser? I don't know. I don't know how that would take place. It's not going to involve a photo shoot of us dressed up. I can tell y'all that. Um, it's the
Why
South.
not?
It's the South. I'm fat. We don't. We're hours apart from each other. Um,
Bob, you
uh,
can't put stuff like that out there if you're not gonna do it.
okay.
Right.
For
Let's do a fundraiser, but let's
Let,
not do anything to actually raise funds.
well, hold on. No. Let's do a
Great
fundraiser.
plan, Bob.
But
Great plan.
listen to me as I
fair.
tell you. Here's the things that I'm gonna deny you. These aren't the things I will actually do for you. These are just the things that. Oh, you hear that thing I said? Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Just don't tell. Only tell people what you are willing to do.
Fair, fair. And look, let's be real. I would probably dress up. Um,
Bob
depending.
would definitely be willing to do that. Yeah.
I have
You know
dressed
what?
up
If
for
we
some dumb
raise
shit
enough
before.
money, the team in some sort of outfit, photo shoot.
Okay. So if you're listening to this, I want to hear. I want feedback from the community. Give us an idea of what you'd like to see, because and I don't
Ben,
know.
you're not allowed to drink anymore.
We
No.
and open to suggestions on a charity. Um, I don't know. We're probably nothing
Put a
like
pin in it. put a pin in it. We can come
Yeah,
back to it once we
yeah.
had time
Just
to think about
I
it.
don't know, y'all. If y'all have an idea, don't suggest my charity because we don't need the money. I'm I'm a charity case. I need your money. Please go buy my books.
I,
But my
see,
but
I,
my
Oh my
nonprofit
God.
my nonprofit does not need donations. So um but yeah.
I,
You know, you might lose people donating now. It'll be like, oh, Bob's good. He doesn't need any
Yeah,
money.
right.
Great.
No, this the nonprofit I run, we have basically no expenses. So, and we raise money early on. We're kind of self-sufficient at this point. We
Nice.
only raise money if we have like a specific like big goal in mind, like, oh hey, we need to do this. So, um, yeah. So please suggest charity, suggest ideas, um, as long as it's not we have to shave our beards.
No,
when
So
was the last
there's
time?
not enough money in the world. Well, that's not true. But no,
But
yeah,
no, yeah.
yeah.
When's the last time
I like being
either of
married.
you? I was gonna say, when was the last time either of you did not have a beard?
I have not been
uh,
fully clean shaven since 3 days before my high school graduation.
I went a long time without a beard, a long time, up into my 30s, of shaving close to every day because mine grows so fast that if I don't shave every day, I end up with, 5 o'clock shadow, well, the same day. But I think it was, gosh, a lot of times fast. It has to be at least 12 years,
Yeah, I think
somewhere in there, maybe a little bit more, but
yeah,
somewhere in there.
I think the last time that I shaved was when had chops, which was in 2014, and I know that because I went back and found the pictures at one point, and I was like, when did that happen? It was
Wow.
2014.
We should at some point we should go dig up all the pictures we can find of our
Old
various
pictures.
facial hairs and post them on
Yeah,
our
it's been long enough that a picture popped up on the Alexa,
yeah.
and with me without a beard, and my daughter saw it and was like, "You look really weird." It's like, "Thanks, honey." But yeah,
Thanks. Yeah. All right. So yeah, suggest us a charity and an activity, and we'll consider it. Yeah.
hmm
We're changing the world here, guys. Changing the world.
yep,
Um. All right. So news is over, unless y'all have something. Um.
I do not.
And so let's dive into A Matter of Trust by Angela Boord. Uh,
Okay.
I looked her up. Uh, didn't do a super deep dive. With smaller authors, a lot of times it's like in the past, we've done like stories by folks that are like in the New Yorker and stuff like that. So it's a little bit easier to find a lot of information on someone. Um, so for these, most of these authors, like you're going to get a paragraph of background. So um, Angela Boord, from her website, is a hopeless romantic, a nerdy introvert, and the author of self-published fantasy blog off number 5. She was a finalist for Fortune's Fool. She can usually be found with her nose in a book when she's not writing her own dark fantasy epics of hope, redemption, and relationships in all their messy glory. Angela and her husband live in northern Mississippi in a house full of children, books, and innumerable Jesus Christ, innumerable quality. She got
It's
a
the B
lot.
and B.
She has a lot of damn Legos, y'all.
All right. There you go.
um, I looked. It looked like from her website, she's got 4. I think it's 3 novels and a novella, and then she's been in 2 anthologies, including this one. Um, and so the novels, she's got one coming out which looks like it's the sequel to Fortune's Fool, which was the FPFBO season 5 finalist. So
Mhm.
there we go. There's a little bit about Angela, I'm excited that she's from Mississippi. Um, that's cool. Always like to support Southern creatives. Um, and yeah, gentlemen, initial thoughts. Did you like this story, Derek?
Yes, I did.
Ben?
Eh, It was okay.
Okay.
You know, I don't know that I would go so far as to say I liked it. I don't think I would recommend it to anyone, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was just very middle of the road for me.
Okay. I am, I'd say, probably between the two of you where I'm at. I, I don't know that I'd be racing out to recommend it to people, but I did like it. Um, but
Yeah.
I did have some issues. So, uh, all right, let's just start. Let's just start riffing.
Let me start, Bob.
Yeah.
I have a question for the group,
Okay.
and this is my major issue with the story. This is supposed to be a sci-fi fantasy anthology. Is this story really sci-fi fantasy?
It's in a fantasy world. That's the best.
I'm going to
Is it
say,
though?
I'm going to say yes, but only because uh, there is one reference to magical bullets.
True.
But
That's pretty weak.
it I yes,
That's pretty weak.
I will say that yeah, it is um that is the only magical element to this. If they had if you had told me like if you changed the names to like Spain and Portugal, I would have bought the concept basically. Um so yeah, it is not heavy fantasy, but
Mhm.
from what I gather, this is 1 billion% set in the world of her fantasy novels.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that this story is a fantasy story, right? You know what I mean? We need the elements of fantasy, and I don't think one reference to magic bullets is enough,
Okay.
right?
That's that.
Like there's no magic, there's no you could like you said, you could just change it and it would just be a standard, set in the past story kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I feel bait and switched.
Okay. No, that's fair. And I think if you listen to this podcast long enough, you'll learn that 90% of the times that I don't like something, it's because I'm real fucking forgiving. I will forgive so much stuff. What I never forgive, rightly or wrongly, is if I feel like I was bait and switched or like I have an expectation that this story is going to be X. It turns out the story is Y.
Right.
Um, that will ruin. That
Even
will.
if he has no reason to think that
Yes.
it's gonna be one thing,
Yeah.
and
No.
Right.
No. One hundred
He had a
percent.
reason. It just
Yeah.
may not be fair to have
yeah,
that reason.
Yeah. I'm a weird. I'm
exactly.
a weird little shit, and it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair to authors to have to account for what I may or may not believe the story is about. Um, but yeah, so I can see that. I honestly I had not really thought of that till you said it. But no, you're absolutely right. This is
Yeah.
other than one.
I got an
Yeah,
I got an hour in and I was like, you know, where's the magic? Where's I've been listening to this thing for an hour, like,
yeah.
where is it?
I mean, it's low. I mean, I you're
It,
not wrong,
Mm-mm.
but it's one of those things where it's like I've read fantasy books that have very, very little magic. It's a low magic setting.
Well,
They have
again, I mean,
swords and guns, and even the guns, people were like, "That's kind of a rarity." And
but again, the only magic in this is a reference, right?
yeah,
There's no actual magic in it.
yeah.
It's like, uh,
No, and
no,
I'll agree. I'll agree with that. It didn't bother me, but I think partly it's because I want there to be more low magic fantasy.
mhm.
That's
I'm
just something that I
very happy with low magic. That is
yeah
not the issue,
yeah.
but it
This
needs
is
to have something,
yeah.
you
No,
know?
that's fair. I would be interested to know in the rest of her books how much magic is there. Are
Right.
there? Um, is this a low magic setting, or are there actually like fuck off powerful wizards just over the hill, and we just get none of that in the story? I don't know.
Right, right.
Um, that was 100% uh, my biggest problem. Really, my only problem with the story is I wish it hadn't been set in her world, because I feel like she worked in a ton of references that just kind of cluttered up the story. That if you've read the other books, and it says it in the back. It's like, yeah, this story is full of Easter eggs for folks that have
Right.
read her first book, and that's cool. I haven't read that first book though, and this story, I liked it. That said, it was a little long. Um, for what happened, it was a little long for me, and I feel like if she had just wrote this story in in 1700s Portugal, uh, um, or in
Look, if it had just been the thing that Bob wished it
yeah,
was, then it would have been better.
Right.
right? No, 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 no. But my point is like, uh, this story took a little too long to get to where it was going, in my opinion. And part of that was because I feel like uh, there are a lot of elements added in, almost like fan service. Like, you've read my book, um, the whole bit where I don't know this, but I would bet my paycheck that I forget the Torello,
Uh-huh.
when when he's referencing, oh, the guy, I didn't get revenge, this guy got revenge. I would bet my paycheck that that guy is a character
He's
in
a
the
side
first, is
character.
a
Right,
side
right.
or main character, like is a notable character in the main book.
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
and so it was one of those, that scene could have been imparted without that little addendum. Or, if this was a freestanding story, she could have wrote it in like the guy, oh yeah, Torello yes, I did get that revenge, or something like that. Like, you could have tightened that scene up a little bit. So um this story would make an absolute fantastic reader magnet, as I call them, where you sign up for someone's email list and you get a story. Like, oh, cool, you liked my book, sign up for my email list, get a story. You get to see some background characters, stuff like that. Fantastic. And this was a well crafted, like, line by line. She's good at her craft. I just wish the story had been a little bit tighter. And the to me, the element that could have gone was the um, world building from her for Easter eggs. Basically, is what it felt like to me. Derek,
You're wrong. So, uh,
I
no,
we knew
like,
that was coming.
well, this is, I think this just fundamentally comes down to our taste in writing. It's like, I'll be honest, like, of the things that we've read so far, this was easily my favorite. Like, this
It's
is
the most character development heavy. I mean, the
Oh,
exactly
really it is
yeah.
the point of the story is character development.
right. So that was my point. It's like the things that you were like, they could have tightened it up. I don't think they necessarily could have, because the point is that it's supposed to kind of be slowed down, stripped down, and give you time for introspection. That's the point.
Yeah.
So if you don't have time to kind of sit there, see people's interactions, see how they're reacting to each other, see their the way they processed the situations that they were in the past and how that affects other people and whether or not people actually changed their actions. That was the thing that I liked about this. I don't like characters that don't change, especially when they fuck up. So the fact that this guy royally effed up and this entire story is basically just him figuring out, I effed up. Here's why I effed up. Here's me admitting why I effed up. I've come to grips with it, and we're just gonna have to move on. That's just what
Yeah.
we're doing. And like, that was, to me, that was the arc that was presented. The action, like,
I could
I'll be honest.
You could have cut the
Go ahead.
action and I'd have been fine with it.
Yeah, well, see, that was my thing. So basically, I got it up. I started reading it yesterday, and I read a little bit of it, and I saw how long it was, and I was like, oh man. look, I don't like short stories for the most part. Like for the because I know we've talked about it a little bit. It's always in between. It's either too short, and there's not enough to it, and I want more, or it's so long and it takes forever, and I'm not super into what's happening. So it's like it just never hits the spot for me for whatever reason. Just very rare for it to actually work for me. The only problem I had with this was just like, well, I want to just like follow this guy now.
Yeah.
Like I want to know like what does he do next, because I want to see hit like he's she made the point that her stories are kind of like about like redemption and things like that, and after coming to grips with your past and things like that. That's cool, and that's basically what the short story was. But I want to see like the rebuilding of a life kind of thing. Like that's I would have enjoyed to continue.
Yeah.
So if like this had been like a prequel or like a character that's in the like if instead of him like the character whose name that you just I can't remember what his name was
Torello or
Torello or something like that. Yeah, if Bastian had been like a side character that was in these books, I would buy the book and read it because I want to see what else he gets to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. Because I started reading it and I was like, oh god, it's gonna be long and I just started reading it and I was like, oh, so we're just like kind of talking about like what happened and just kind of going through like his reactions to his past. Okay, this is interesting. Like I ended up staying up until like 1 a.m. reading it. Like I didn't finish it, but that was just because I finally got tired and I was like, I gotta go to bed. So I went to bed and then finished reading it first thing in the morning before work. And I was like, yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that. And then I looked it up and realized there wasn't more. And I was like,
if you told me that she wrote this without the action plot to it, I would believe you because it almost feels like the action is kind of shoehorned in there.
Right.
I feel like she wanted to write a character study, and someone along the way was like, "Okay, but nothing happens." She's like, "Well, fuck.
I could see that.
I guess I'll add in some act, or maybe she just thought like, well, shit, no one's going to read this as a character study. I guess I need to add in some action because honestly, like the action was cool. I had, it was fine.
I think it was necessary to show his growth as a person and being willing, like his realization that, like, for all intents and purposes, that he had been running away from his responsibilities and from feeling the way he would have felt towards his child, like being able to take care of them, and how, I mean, it basically says that how terrified you are once you become a parent of like, oh my god, I have to. This is not about me anymore. I have to keep this thing alive and fed and all this stuff. But how great it is too is like he didn't realize that, and he had purposefully kept himself distant from his own family because he couldn't process or handle that because of who he was before. If you don't have this threat to those children that he had kind of become close to over the time of traveling, maybe he doesn't realize that, so you don't really get the full arc. But you're not wrong, because even at the beginning they made that one reference to like I mean it was pretty easy to see this coming.
Oh god,
because
yeah,
it was one of those things.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about when they were like, oh yeah, some mysterious guy hired away our guards and offered these replacements. It was like, okay, all right, that's a little,
that's a little on the nose.
Little on the nose.
And by a little, I mean a lot. But then,
yeah.
And I will say that's what kind of made me. Well, but then I was like, well, then when is it happening? Like, what? Nothing. It's not happening. And then, but then I kind of hoped there for a while that I had just read it wrong, because when he had the card game and he like beat them and they said like it's not about the money, I was like, oh, are we also going to got to get a lesson of him like he just reads situations wrong? Like, was he crapping on these dudes this whole time? And they were like, no, dude, I'm just here to protect the, like, what's your, why are you judging me like this?
Yeah.
But then they did not go that way, and I was like, oh, well, that's fair. That makes more sense for the breadcrumb trail. Well, it wasn't even a breadcrumb trail. It was like one big piece of bread, and then another big. It was a sandwich. We had a sandwich. A sandwich, and that's fine because all the sandwichy goodness in the middle, the cheese and the meat, was all the character interactions, which is what I wanted. but like let's
Oh,
there was no there was
Yeah.
no I'm gonna pepper in these instances of showing like sidelong glances or like these people kind of being a little off throughout the interactions. I mean, there was a little
Yeah.
bit of that, but mostly that could have just come down to the fact that I don't know these guys.
Right.
Like it could have been very easily explained in many other ways, and they didn't dwell on it enough because that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is the interactions and the growth of the character.
Yeah.
But I
No.
don't know. I enjoyed it.
That's why I said it felt like someone told her after she wrote it, was like, "Oh no, hey, you got to have
Mhm.
some action here." She's like, "Oh, well, I'll have this thing. Oh shit, I got to go back in and kind of build up to that. Let me add in uh 2 sentences here and a small scene here. Oh, that's probably enough. Boom, action scene." So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it worked. It was a little on the nose, but part of it's like it's a short story, to a degree. Sometimes you do have to just hit it a little on the nose for the sake of we got to get to where we're going here.
Well, also, and I,
yeah.
and I will say this: like, I come from literary fiction, like with school and everything like that. It's like I'm perfectly comfortable with like people there not being really any action or even really any progress. It's literally just here's two people interacting, and you get to see how they interact with each other and how their personalities work out and stuff like that. I'm used to that, but in a book series that's supposed to be about fantasy and sci-fi and loss and stuff like that, like I understand that there's supposed to be characterization, like that's the point of this anthology, but like it's supposed to be a mix of fantasy and stuff like that too. So that's kind of where I come back to. I didn't even register the lack of magic or fantasy elements at all, really. But now that you've pointed it out, it's like, yeah, they're kind
Wasn't
of,
even.
yeah. I mean, like I would have liked some of that, but
Yeah.
also I'll just most short stories don't have the level of characterization or
Well,
like make me care about.
Put
So
put in the magic
she with
bullets.
with with exactly. You had a combat scene right at the end. Like it's the perfect place if you're going to throw that in there to just add a little magic.
yeah,
Problem solved.
Yeah.
or do
But I was going to say I did have one other problem with the book, and or with the story, and that is I had a really hard time with the setting uh, throughout the first half of the book, and that was because there wasn't enough description given to determine what the setting was. Right?
I
We're
agree.
told about tabards and swords, so I'm thinking high fantasy, and then she mentions guns, and it's like, okay, what kind of guns? And then she mentions trains, and it's like, okay, so they're wearing tabards with swords and guns on a train. Like, this makes no sense. And then on the last half of the story, then she specifies, there's an arquebus or I
Wheel
forget what it
lock.
was called.
Wheel.
Wheel
Yeah.
lock. I
Yeah.
was trying to think of wheel. The wheel lock and the arquebus, which, hundreds of years apart from trains, but
Well,
fine,
I
but
I
it's like I had a hard time solidifying the setting in my head to figure out exactly what to picture, you know.
so I think, and I may be wrong on this. I think it was just a wagon train. I don't think it was a train. I think it was a wagon train.
Yeah, I
But
think it was too. But also I will say you're not wrong. And normally, and this is where
The- sorry, Derek.
yeah,
Let me say one thing, and then the fact that I don't know that
this is true. This is true.
she did it wrong.
right.
Go ahead,
So
Derek.
so part of and part of this is I am I I am really hard on writing more often than not. I almost always want more description. So the
Yeah.
fact that I didn't get a ton of it in this, I'm used to never being satisfied with that. So I'll be honest, I didn't even mention it because I'm just so used to always being the guy that's like, no one I don't even know what color this dude's hair is. What is this? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just like I didn't mention it because I was like, oh, this is probably just a me thing. But you're not wrong. There could have been more. In fact, majority of the description was just telling us things about um the Lysandra. I don't know
Yeah.
how they say her
Yeah.
name, but
Right, right.
um was basically just describing her and kind of a way to show that like the main character was kind of into her, but was like trying desperately not to be,
Right.
kind of thing. So it's like the description kind of was focused in on her, which makes sense for the story, but also it's just like, can I know anything else about like what's going on or what we're looking at? But the story was already long
Yeah.
for a short story, so I get it. You can't really.
Well, but the thing is, she did it in the last half,
Uh,
right? But the first half, it was generic guns. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
for example, with the guns. In the last half, she's like, oh, it's an arquebus, it's a wheel lock. It's, you know what I mean? Put that in the beginning,
Yeah.
you know? After you say what they are, you can generically refer to them as guns, but don't wait till the end of the story to tell me what kind of guns they are if you're going to.
Um, I can agree with that. I will say that one thing that I thought she did really well was she did a good job of like hinting at the social fabric of the world in very few lines. Like I can't remember what I'm going to call. I know they're not called gazpachos, but because that's a soup. But the gazpachos, talking about that, and then talking about like, oh, she's now married to like a a householder and stuff like that. Like that was a good job of using hints of of concepts to imply a fleshed out culture.
and that was another thing I was going to say is there was a lot of that. So when you were talking about like them kind of not, you feel like there was too many Easter eggs. Like I didn't really get that at all. I felt it was more like I'm gonna say a thing that contextually you can kind of vaguely understand what I'm referencing, and it's not intended to like hammer anything home. It's just to show that there is a world outside of this without actually having to explain that thing.
Yeah,
People do it a ton, and sometimes I really like it. Like what was that series that we always complain about? That we never,
Malazan.
yeah, Malazan, even though I hate it, but also I don't.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
I've
like
I think Tolkien is still the master at dropping in a line or two to imply. Now, in his case,
I thought he
he
ended up like telling like
oh well, but he does a good job of like just working in these small references that imply a much larger history. Now, in his case, he had that all written up with the languages to go with it. Um,
Right.
but the example I've always heard was you're only ever 3 steps away from imp- like giving people a full pic, like the implication that your world is fully fleshed out. And it's the example that I heard used was um oh, we can't go into the sewers. Why? Because there are crocodiles. Why are there crocodiles? Oh, it's to keep the battle nuns out. Okay. In those 3 steps, you have just like, okay, so we got a place, it's got sewers, we get a little hint of it. It's like, oh, but wait, there's crocodiles in the sewers. That's now there's battle nuns. Like, oh my god. So like in just those 3 simple little steps, it does a pretty good job of painting a picture of at least one element of a world that leaves
might
you
still be a confusing world, but
yeah, but it leaves
Right.
you want to know more, but if you don't get more, you at least have okay, well, cool. We can't go into the sewers are not an option. Here's
and here's why
why,
they're not an option. Yeah,
and we're gonna go this
Right.
way, and it implies that there's a lot more
out
off
there.
off page.
Mhm.
And I thought she did a good job of that, which again, um, was like 90% of world building never hits the page. Uh,
Yeah,
she's got a whole ass other book over here of full of world building that never hit this page, and it gave a decent feeling of uh,
being lived
I
in.
did not have a good visual picture perhaps in some places, but I had a good socioeconomic picture, I guess you could say,
Right.
Mm.
which arguably is probably the harder thing to do. I feel like I don't know, maybe.
I guess it just depends on what you focus on,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But all in all, I enjoyed it. Like I said, if there I like redemption stories. I'm just now realizing I don't think I've really read many of them. Nor I don't think
what about Assassin's
that was the only one
Apprentice?
I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was, and but that's you see the fall and the climb back, and that's why. Well, that's also why I love those books so much.
yeah, yeah,
So, but I I feel like the that kind of story is not exactly the same as the hero's journey. Like I'm sure there's a hero's journey built into that kind of thing. But most of the fantasy stories you get it doesn't really have the fall. It's just like, oh, from humble beginnings up, instead of like humble beginnings plummet, and then we're trying to build you back up. I like
yeah,
the build back up, and I like the plummet. To be perfectly honest, it's pretty interesting to see somebody fail and then have to pull themselves out of that.
yeah. I did like that we're now 3 stories in, and they have all been 3 very different types of grief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was, and this type of grief really resonates with me. One, because I live in perpetual fear of, like, look, I have never cheated on a significant other. I never would. I find the act repulsive. But I am. What is it called when you get the ick? Have you ever heard that? Like
yeah.
what the youths are saying these days, where it's I really liked this guy until he said that one thing, and now I have the ick, and I can just never look at him again. You know, like I live in perpetual fear of one day I'm just going to say some weird thing, and Jean Marie's like, you know, what am I doing here? You know, but
Yeah,
just
if it hasn't happened by now, you're probably safe.
yes, but no, it's one of those uh this is a real fear of mine, and I read a lot of like Reddit stories of like am I the assholes and uh best of Reddit updates and stuff like that. And I read a lot of these stories where it is someone is like, I fucked up. It was a moment like it was so out of character for me, but I own that I fucked up, and I can't get them back. No matter what I do, they want nothing to do with me. And it's just one of those like, this story is that like he fucked up. He's not getting her back, you know?
I will say something to ease your mind, Bob. You have to keep in mind that he fucked up continuously before that.
Yeah.
So don't make a history of fucking up continuously before that. And if you mess up and say a silly thing once, Jean Marie will smack you in the head, beat you at Dice Throne, and it'll be fine.
Fair. Fair. So, yeah. You'll have anything else you want to add before we wrap this puppy up?
Um, I just wanted to say I didn't say this earlier, but I do think this is the best of the 3 stories that I've read so far. It's my favorite of the 3.
Like craft
So
wise and stuff.
yeah. She did a lot of stuff right,
Yeah.
but I just had those couple issues of,
Yeah.
bait and
Everything can
switch,
always be
and
better.
I needed more detail up front.
I think this
But there's always
is
going to be something.
Mhm.
I think this is number 2 for me. I really like the second story. Um,
I like that one too. It was you just get a different thing out of it.
yeah.
And this is more my thing, and I definitely, because it was character focused. The other one is more your thing because it seemed like it was really fleshing out like story
Yeah.
or world building
Yeah,
stuff, which is
it
kind of
was
your thing.
yeah, world
Yeah.
building. It's where I live.
Hmm.
So, well, all right. We'll put this episode to bed. I hope you enjoyed our little chat on it. I hope you were like, God, these guys are so fucking insightful. Like, damn, how did we get so lucky as to get these 3 gentlemen breaking down stories for us? I know I sit here at night and think about that exact thing. How did I get so lucky as to be able to do this with 2 of my favorite people?
Yeah.
Lame. All right. Anyway, um, in the coming week, as you travel through the mountain passes of life, dodging bandits and guards who may or may not have been bought off by your rivals. I hope that you find redemption and a bottle of B&B, and may the blessing of the beard be upon you.